everybody! Today I wanted to talk to you about how to make one of my favorite household products, and that is oat milk. Now, I know a lot of you out there use alternative milks, and oat milk is really having a moment right now. So you can absolutely buy oat milk from the store, but it is so easy to make at home. So today I want to show you how to do that. You don't need a lot of special equipment to make oat milk. It's really incredibly basic. The main thing that you're going to need that you may not have on hand is this. It's an oat milk bag, or sometimes it's called a nut milk bag, but it's just a really fine mesh bag essentially, because the oats grind up really small, and so you need to be able to press them out through a fine sieve. Beyond that, the ingredients are really basic. You want to use old-fashioned oats or rolled oats. Don't use quick oats, don't use steel cut, anything like that. Just your basic old-fashioned oats and water, and then you can stop there. But I'm also going to show you how to make a little bit of a change on it that makes it a little bit sweeter, a little bit nicer, and that's going to involve the addition of a little bit of salt, some maple syrup, and some extract. Vanilla, almond, whatever you have on hand is going to make it better. Now you're also going to need a blender for this recipe. If you have a Vitamix or some other high-speed blender, that's fantastic. I do not, so we are going to be using my old school blender. It works just as well, it just takes a little bit longer. So I'll get to timing and all that once we get to that point, but I think it's about time to dive in. The very first thing you're going to need to do is to soak your oats. Now you want to soak them for 20 to 30 minutes, no longer than that, no longer than 30 minutes, because your milk will get slimy. So I'm just going to start with about 1 cup of these oats in a bowl. And again, make sure you're using old-fashioned oats. Or rolled oats, anything that already has the outer membrane broken off, like a quick cooking oat, is not going to do well in this recipe, because you do need it to have a little bit of structure. So like I said, I'm going to start with about 1 cup in there, and then we're just going to top it off with some water. Now you only need enough water in this step to just cover the oats. Yep, perfect. So I'm gonna let these sit for 20 to 30 minutes, and then we'll be right back and moving on with our oat milk recipe. All right, and we're back. So my oats have been soaking for 25 minutes. I went ahead and drained them and gave them a good rinse with cold water. So you want to discard the liquid that they soaked in initially. And then in this pitcher here, I have about 3 cups of just plain tap water. So these oats are just going to go right on in the blender here. Doesn't look super appetizing right now. But as soon as I get this going, I'm going to pop it on the blender for about a minute. If you have a high-speed or a Vitamix type blender, you can usually go about 30 seconds, but if you have a standard blender, it's closer to a minute, but you'll be able to tell when everything's broken down well enough. All right, so the oat milk has now run through the blender for about a minute. It's thickened up nicely. Now you can absolutely stop at this point. You can go ahead and stop and strain your mixture, and you'll have wonderful oat milk. But I like to change things up just a little bit. So how I do that is very simple. You just want to do a pinch of salt, a tablespoon of maple syrup. I like to use maple syrup, but you can also use agave or honey, whatever you prefer. I like maple syrup. I like the richness. And then a half teaspoon of the extract of your choice. Vanilla is great. I'm actually going to go ahead and use almond extract this time because it's what I had on hand. And then I'm just going to pop this back on the blender for a couple more seconds. months. So this is where that nut milk bag comes in. We're just gonna pour the contents of our blender right on in. And I like to use a measuring cup, a large measuring cup, just because it makes it easier to pour into my final container. So we're just gonna lift this out, and there's a lot of milk pulp, or a lot of oat pulp in here, and that's okay. That's fantastic. I'm just gonna slowly squeeze it from the top down, try to get as much of that liquid out of there as I can. And by the way, you're gonna wind up with a fair amount of oat pulp, most likely. Don't throw that away. You can use it in smoothies. You can use it in cookies. Pretty much anywhere that you would use oatmeal in a recipe, you can substitute. All right, and there we have it. Wonderful, nutritious, delicious oat milk for a fraction of the price as you would pay to get it pre-prepared at the grocery store. A few minutes of labor, about half an hour of soaking, and you wind up with this. So what you're gonna wanna do is keep it in a glass bottle, store it in the fridge, and use it within about 5 days. Again, you can use it in any way that you would use cow's milk. So on your cereal or in your coffee, anything like that is gonna be fantastic. So once again, this has been Oat Milk, and I look forward to seeing you all next week.